but no one tells you where the oil truly comes from. Behind every drop lies a place no brand wants filmed, and a truth polished out of every advertisement. Tonight, we open the door they keep locked. They show you the bottle. They show you the marble counters, the soft-lit spas, the slow-motion drops that fall like liquid gold. They never show you what comes before the bottle. They never show you the rooms, the hands, the hours that make a single vial possible. This is not an accusation wrapped in anger. It is an invitation to look, to follow a trail of labor, science, secrecy, and demand. Tonight we pull that curtain back and reveal the quiet machinery behind elite hemp seed oil for skincare, the product that, in 2025, many call the final expression of green luxury. 1. Origins and science. Why hemp seeds, and why now? Hemp seeds are old as agriculture itself. They are celebrated for fatty acids, for balanced lipids, for a skin-friendly profile that cosmetics have long borrowed. But the industry's new obsession is not ordinary hemp seed oil. It is a cold-pressed, ultra-pure extract from select microlots, batches produced under near-laboratory conditions and marketed as elite grade. What makes these microlots different is not mythology, it is chemistry. Under certain climatic conditions and with careful genetic selection, hemp seeds concentrate rare ratios of linoleic and alpha-linolenic acids, sterols, and minor lipids that, when preserved intact during extraction, interact with skin in unusually restorative ways, increased barrier repair, measurable improvement in transepidermal water loss, and enhanced lipid matrix reorganization. The challenge is fragility. Those compounds oxidize easily. Heat and oxygen break them into off-notes and degraded actives. Thus, temperature, timing, and atmosphere, not marketing, are what define the final product's value. 2. The microlots, how scarcity is engineered. The elite batches begin in small plots, sometimes no more than a few hectares, in regions with very specific diurnal temperature ranges. Farmers choose varieties with slow seed maturation and dense testa, traits that yield higher concentrations of useful lipids. Harvest windows are narrow, a handful of ideal days when moisture, temperature, and seed composition align. This is not mechanized harvesting. It is hand selection. Workers walk rows at dawn and dusk, feeling the pods, gently sampling. Each crate is flagged, time-stamped, and refrigerated within minutes. Seeds are not aggregated into bulk shipments. They move in microlots, 25 kilograms, 50 kilograms, never more, into insulated vans that travel directly to processing facilities. The scarcity is real, the bottleneck intentional. It is a necessary condition to retain the chemistry brands now advertise as clinical grade and cold pressed. 3. The extraction labs, invisible cold temples. When the seeds arrive, the first rule is, keep them cold and keep oxygen out. The best labs run clean rooms with controlled relative humidity below 15% and ambient temperatures hovering between 2 degrees Celsius and 6 degrees Celsius. Seeds pass through dehulling machines that operate under nitrogen blankets. Dehulling is performed gently, abrasions introduce heat and oxidation. Cold pressing in the elite context is not simply cranking a screw press. It is a sequence of micropressures, pressure ramps, dwell periods, and vacuum transference. Operators monitor dozens of parameters simultaneously: press head pressure curves, chamber oxygen levels, metal surface temperatures down to a fraction of a degree. Some facilities use cryogenic pre-chill cycles to reduce seed temperature to near freezing before pressing. The yield? Extremely low. On average, to obtain a liter of this elite extract requires dozens of kilograms of precisely selected seed, often upwards of 30 to 50 kilograms depending on the cultivar and season. That is why brands call it rare, not as a marketing trope, but as an engineering reality. 4. Human labor, silent, repetitive, essential. All this technology still depends on human hands. In the fields, selectors work long dawn to dusk days, stooping, inspecting, boxing, and loading. In the labs, operators remain vigilant through night shifts, reading gauges, adjusting pressures, and manually discarding microbatches that fail to meet purity thresholds. The labor is repetitive and punishing in a particular way. It is not the dramatic danger of many raw material industries, it is chronic strain. Workers report joint fatigue from continuous manual sorting. Eye strain and headaches from dim, concentrated light. Pressure injuries from long shifts standing at control tables. In some facilities, quotas demand rapid throughput. Microlots must be processed within 24 to 48 hours of harvest or the chemical profile changes too much, and the whole lot loses value. This creates an invisible economy of overtime, temporary hires, and off-the-book shifts. The premium price paid by elite consumers does not translate evenly into premium wages. The human cost is encoded into the rhythm of production, a slow attrition of time, health, and predictability. 5. Environmental and logistic strains, the other invisible cost. The operation's narrow windows create logistic pressure. Trucks with temperature-controlled units crisscross borders under tight schedules. Refrigeration energy consumption is high. When scaled across dozens of microlots to satisfy global demand, the carbon footprint climbs quickly, ironically undermining the sustainable narrative deployed in marketing. Soil health is another concern. The cultivars that produce the elite seeds often require intense, targeted feeding regimes to achieve the lipid profiles sought by labs. In small regions, repeated cycles of such cultivation lead to soil fatigue and increased use of inputs. The argument many brands make about regenerative sourcing sometimes masks an intensive, extraction-focused agriculture that benefits buyers more than local ecologies. 6. Quality control, the gatekeepers of luxury. Quality control for elite hemp seed oil is rigorous. Few batches pass. Laboratories run LC-MS analysis for lipid fingerprinting, peroxide value tests, and volatile oxidation markers. Many microbatches fail at this stage and are discarded or diverted to lower-grade uses. This discarding increases waste, but it is essential to preserve the narrative of clinical purity that commands premium prices. The cost of failure is interesting. It is not merely monetary. It is reputational. A brand that claims to sell a cold-pressed elite extract must demonstrate repeatability. For that to happen, producers maintain closed supply chains and tight NDAs. They use lot numbers, sealed transport containers, and limited release strategies, a pattern many call manufactured scarcity. That is truly sustainable and ethical. We must be willing to trace the path of every drop, from seed to skin, and make choices that reflect the whole truth. 7. The market anatomy, how scarcity becomes status. By 2025, elite hemp seed oil is positioned as a prestige ingredient. The market mechanics are simple but effective. Limited supply scarcity. Scientific claims authority. Premium packaging perceived value. Influencer-led narrative social proof. Brands bundle the oil into serums, boosters, and limited edition ampoules. A 30 milliliters vial carrying the elite label can retail for many hundreds of dollars. Not because the molecules perform miracles, though there are measurable benefits, but because scarcity, story, and presentation converge. A second market dynamic is exclusivity through channel control. High-end boutiques, private subscription services, and specialized dermatology clinics become the primary distribution points. This limits comparative shopping, increases perceived uniqueness, and allows price control. 8. The secrecy, why so much is hidden. Why do brands insist on secrecy? Why the closed labs, the microlots, the NDAs? Several reasons intersect. Competitive advantage. A rare profile is a product moat. Regulatory caution. The legal landscape for hemp derivatives remains fragmented across jurisdictions. Controlling supply reduces compliance risk. Narrative control. Luxury depends on mystique. If the full story, including the labor and environmental trade-offs, became common knowledge, demand could shift or regulations could tighten. The result is a supply chain optimized for stories that sell more than truths that might complicate sales. 9. Consumer perception versus reality, the cognitive gap. Consumers who buy because they value sustainability, natural sourcing, and ethical production are not always wrong. Many of these brands do invest in community programs and certifications. but the gap between perception and production practices can be wide. A certified logo does not tell you about overtime shifts, microlot discards, or refrigeration-intensive logistics. Basically, the label is only a fragment. And fragments can be assembled into narratives that omit inconvenient facts. 10. What can change? Small steps with big meaning. If the industry were to shift toward real transparency, certain changes would matter. Full traceability, from plot GPS to lab certificate, public. Fair labor benchmarks, independent audits with public reporting. Energy accounting, disclose refrigeration and transport emissions with each lot. Genuine community reinvestment, not token donations, but long-term soil recovery and wage adjustment programs. Those measures would reduce mystique and perhaps reduce the premium, but they would align price with real cost and ethics. 11. Final reflection, the membrane between desire and truth. Luxury is not inherently wrong. Desire for better products, better experiences, better care, that's human. What becomes problematic is when desire is fed by omissions and silences. The elite hemp seed oil that glows on a marble counter is a product of careful science and craft. It is also an artifact of logistic pressure, labor intensity, and secrecy. To fully appreciate it, or to critique it, we must accept the full story. Beauty does not appear out of thin air. It arrives on schedules, through machines and hands, under cold lights, and sometimes at human cost. So when you see the next glossy post or the next influencer drop, ask the quiet question, who made it possible? Not to shame, but to understand. Because if we want luxury,